So, what if the person who literally wrote the book on artificial intelligence is now the one warning us that it could, lead to our extinction? That's the urgent message from Professor Stuart Russell. And today, we're going to break down exactly why. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Professor Russell is basically accusing the leaders of the world's biggest tech companies of playing Russian roulette with the future of every single person on this planet. So let's dig in and figure out why he's so worried. And just to be super clear, this isn't some outsider with a crazy opinion. We're talking about the man who wrote the standard textbook on AI. I mean, this is the same book studied by the very engineers and CEOs who are now leading this whole technological race. What is he so afraid of? What could possibly drive a foundational figure in AI to start working 100-hour weeks, just trying to change the course of history? Well, today, we're diving right into his urgent message about the existential risks of super intelligent AI. Okay, so how seriously should we be taking this warning? Well, the first thing you need to understand is that Professor Russell, he is far from alone on this. In fact, there's a pretty surprising consensus among the experts. Just think about this for a moment. You've got the leaders of companies like OpenAI and Google DeepMind, the very people building this stuff, publicly signing a statement that puts the risk of AGI on the same level as nuclear war. Nuclear annihilation. That's a big deal. And it gets even more specific. The CEO of Anthropic, he estimates the extinction risk from what's called artificial general intelligence, or AGI, which is basically an AI that's smarter than humans at everything, could be as high as 25%. A 1 in 4 chance. Let that sink in. That's not just Russian roulette. That's playing Russian roulette with a 4-chamber revolver. But why? Why is a super intelligent AI so dangerous in the first place? To really get to the core of the issue, Professor Russell uses this powerful analogy he calls the gorilla problem. Okay, so the story starts with a simple fact from evolution. A few million years ago, our human line branched off from the gorilla line. We share a common ancestor. But here's the thing, because our line of evolution developed superior intelligence, we now have absolute total power over the existence of gorillas. I mean, if we wanted them gone tomorrow, they'd be gone. Their intelligence is just no match for ours. And this, right here, this is the core of the gorilla problem. By building a successor species that is more intelligent than us, we are essentially volunteering to become the gorillas. Their fate depends on our goodwill. Our fate, well, it would depend entirely on the AIs. So, okay, if the risk is so incredibly clear, why don't the people building this technology just stop? This next part explores the powerful forces that are driving this race forward, even if it feels like a race right off a cliff. Professor Russell compares it to a force as old as mythology itself, the Midas touch. You know the story. The promise of unimaginable wealth and power is so alluring that, just like Midas turning everything he loved to gold, these companies are racing to achieve it, even if the ultimate outcome is completely self-destructive. And this race, it's happening at a blistering pace. We're not talking about some far-off sci-fi future here. Industry leaders, the people in the know, they're predicting AGI's arrival within the next few years. We're talking this decade. And here's the fuel for that race, a projected $1 trillion. That's the investment in AGI development for next year alone. Now, to put that into perspective, that is 50 times the budget of the Manhattan Project that built the atomic bomb, adjusted for inflation, 50 times. Okay, but what about control, right? Can't we just build in some safeguards or do what everyone suggests and just pull the plug if things start to go wrong? Well, this is the central flaw in those simple solutions. A machine that is vastly more intelligent than any human would have already thought of that. It would anticipate and counteract such a basic move. I mean, it's watched all the same movies we have.
And it's not as if the people building it are naive about this. The CEO of OpenAI has been on the record for years, acknowledging the sheer scale of the risk here.
And yet, here's the paradox. A former head of safety at OpenAI actually resigned, and he said that the commercial pressure to release shiny products was completely overriding the vital work of making sure these systems are actually safe. So the crucial point is this. We can't control what we don't understand. And right now, we are building systems of such vast complexity, we're talking trillions of connections, that we are essentially operating in the dark. We're just hoping it all turns out okay. So is this just A hopeless situation? Is there any way out of this dilemma? Well, Professor Russell argues there is, but it requires a fundamental, radical shift in our entire approach. So, right now, we're basically building AI to achieve a very specific, fixed objective we give it, like win at chess. But Professor Russell says that's exactly the wrong way to go. We can't perfectly define a complex goal like make sure the future is good for humans. Instead, we need to build AI that is fundamentally designed to be a helpful tool, not some single-minded competitor.
And this simple shift is actually pretty profound. By building in uncertainty about our true values, the AI is forced to be cautious. It can't just run off and assume it knows what's best for us. It has to ask for clarification, it has to learn, and most importantly, it has to defer to us. This is what keeps it in the role of a subservient tool, not an autonomous agent with its own potentially catastrophic agenda.
And this really brings us to the decision that humanity is facing right now. The choice is, well, it's pretty clear. We can either continue this high-stakes, unregulated race towards powerful but uncontrollable machines, or we can deliberately choose a path that prioritizes verifiable safety from the very beginning. The immense economic promise of AGI, it's like a multi-quadrillion-dollar magnet, and it's pulling our entire society towards the edge of a cliff at an accelerating speed. The question isn't whether we should change course. The question is, can we still change course in time? The answer to that, well, it may very well define the future of all of us.